meetings must be boring because we don't, even when we had in person, we didn't get a lot of people in the chambers. I mean, I always give people in the public a hard time because I say, look, we pass a budget nearing $10 million and we'll have one person in the council chamber. That you need to come out and put your, make yourself known and say what you want to say, because you get a lot more say in things than you do at the
recording in progress
level.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They're not coming now to talk about important things just because they're showing up. They're talking about things that we have no control over and not interested at all in the things that are important. I sort of arranged it so that our commenters had to watch our whole CIP this last week, which was an hour and a half, 2-hour-long presentation.
That's part of the budget too. It's important.
And the first person who walked up talked about how very boring that was. And I was like, that's what we do. We don't make mask mandates. Like, that's not even in our job.
Yeah, we are ready to roll now.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. We'll call this meeting of the Humboldt County Association of Governments Board into order. And for public participation, there's a ribbon across the screen which will allow you to call in and make your comment known at the appropriate time. At this time, after the call to order, we will have a roll call.
I'll be doing that today. Supervisor Wilson.
Here I am.
Welcome. Mayor Jones.
Here.
Mayor Seaman.
Here.
Councilmember Avis.
Present.
Mayor Atkins Salazar.
Here.
Councilmember Gordon Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember West.
Here.
Chair Johnson.
Here.
PAC member Arroyo.
Here.
And PAC member Alstrand.
Here.
All right, thank you. And at this time, we will adjourn as the HCOG board and reconvene as the Policy Advisory Committee. And the PAC convenes to include representation from Caltrans and Humboldt Transit Authority. And our first order of business today is a report from Caltrans on the Eureka Arcata corridor project. And I believe our Jeff Pimentel will be bringing that for us.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Thanks for having me. So I think it's been 1 or 2 meetings since I've come and given an update on where we stand with the repackage and re-advertise for the Indianola undercrossing project. So we're making good headway. Our current target delivery date has pushed about a month. So we are looking about the very beginning, first week of May right now is where we're kind of standing for delivery. We had a very aggressive schedule. And so I never like to see things push, but I was kind of expecting that to happen just with how aggressive our schedule was. So really the intent behind what we're trying to do is ensure that we get a full season of construction in 2023 so that we can complete the project by 25, being that it's a 3-season construction job. Beth has been part of our we meet weekly. We have Kleinfelder as a consultant helping us with the design of the column support and embankment. So we are approaching our 100% design milestone at this point, and starting to get into the modeling and analysis of these columns that will be placed under the embankment as you approach the bridge from either side, the north or the south. I have had some conversations with Beth. We should, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, have a cost estimate update based on current unit costs. We did get a draft of the structures estimate just for the structures portion of the project. That cost came in about just over $2.5 million higher than it was previously. We do need to dig into that a little more to be sure that we're being aggressive with our estimating and not being overly conservative. I know that just the nature of things now in the economy, we're all seeing a lot of things costing a lot more than they did a year ago versus 2 years ago. So I'm not surprised to see that. But what I want to be sure is that our estimating is not just banking on that fact and that we're really looking at our estimates from an objective point of view, because we have been getting some bids on projects that have actually just been coming at the engineer's estimate or even some below. So I want to look at that closer. And that is only the structures portion. So right now, our quantities are being reviewed by our, in the North region, which is our area of that District 1 is part of, and the way that Caltrans is structured, we have what's called the North Region Estimator, and their sole job is to look at engineers' estimates and verify that our unit costs are appropriate where they should be based on other bids in kind of Northern California and other projects that Caltrans is advertising and receiving bids on. So that is currently with that group reviewing quantities, and they are updating and making any adjustments they feel are needed to cost. And then the modeling and analysis for the CSE, the column supported embankment portion, which is really what drove this repackaging and re-advertising. Modeling analysis, I believe, is going to take about 3 weeks to get some draft numbers, and I'll probably just plan on hopefully coming back to you guys next month to give you guys an update, and I may have some updates then in terms of cost. Any questions on any of that information?
So Jeff, this is Gordon Johnson. When do you expect the bid opening date?
So bid opening, we're looking at here in a second. So we will likely advertise around July or August. And then bid opening, I think our bid time will be approximately 6 weeks on this, no less than 4. We need to talk about that. I'd be a fan of shrinking that timeline as much as we can, being that bidders have already seen the project, so it's not going to be the first time they've seen it. Just in the interest of trying to get to construction as soon as we can. But so we're probably looking at September, October by the time its bids are open. But then our timeline, it's another approximate month after bid opening to actually formally award the contract. And then it takes about another month for to get to the point where we have an approved executed contract with the contractor. Something that we are is a risk is just bidder protests and things of that nature that can sometimes happen on contracts, draw that timeline out some. And we did have that happen on the first go round. So there is that risk, but if that weren't to happen, those are kind of the factors to be looking at.
Okay, so you're looking at possible award in December, January, somewhere's in there.
Yeah, I mean, probably in the fall, like October, if everything goes smoothly, we could be awarding to a contractor then. And that's always a good time entering into 2023 because we'll have gone through all that kind of contract administration work during the winter season when there's really typically not a whole lot of construction activity just due to the weather. So the challenging part is when you're in that portion of the contract and awarding and bidding in, April, May, June, you really lose that construction season because it just kind of pushes you right into the winter when the contractor is ready and mobilized to work. So I think the way the schedule is constructed right now, it's well positioned to really hit the ground running in 2023.
Okay.
I had
I
a
think Adeline
question.
has a
Yeah,
question.
yeah. Adeline Jones, Mayor of Blue Lake. So you said it's going to cost about $2.5 million more. What was the original cost of the project?
So that's only on the structures portion, and that is preliminary. So
Right.
when I report that cost, the cost of the structure, I believe formerly was about just over 7 million, 7.2 or 7.3 million. The latest estimate on the structure itself was, I believe, about 9.6 or 9.7 million. Again, that's draft, so that's not a final number,
Right.
and that's only a portion of the project. But I believe that a lot of that is likely driven by steel prices right now. There's going to be a lot of steel in that bridge, and steel prices right now are through the roof. So I would say, the market's always changing. So depending on when we actually go to bid, maybe the market eases some. I would say it's definitely at a peak right now, but those are all factors that we need to discuss as a team to really be sure that, we're being aggressive with our costs, because the last thing we want to do is have an estimate that is inflated. And, my understanding is that if our estimate is even $1 over what we allocated, then we need to go for what's called the supplemental to advertise. We need to go request more funding to actually advertise the project if our engineer's estimate is showing that it's higher than what we allocated. We had allocated, I believe, about 49.5 million is what was allocated when we originally delivered the project and advertised the project. So
Thank you.
so those are conversations.
You answered another of my questions. I was going to ask if the cost hike was because of materials being so much more expensive, but you said it's mainly the fuel that's driving the cost up.
The steel, the metal.
Oh, steel. I'm sorry. I thought you said fuel. Okay,
Yeah.
Steel. Okay.
The
Then it
rebar
is materials.
Don't quote me on this number, but in one of our meetings, someone mentioned, I think we might have somewhere upwards of, a few 100,000 pounds, if not maybe 1 million pounds of rebar, on this job. So if you think about just the cost of steel and where it's gone, that's an item that gets hit hard. But to your point on fuel prices have also increased substantially. And with the length of a job of 3 years, there is a lot of fuel costs on a job like this as well that a contractor will have. So that no doubt, impacts costs as well.
Thank you.
I think there's a couple hands up. Mike and Steven have their hands up.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm fairly new to the board, so I wasn't here for your last presentation, but how much has it set us back time-wise to have to go out to bid a second time?
A few months. I believe we were supposed to have, we were planning to be in construction at some point this year in the summer. So I'm hopeful that we can be in construction at the very beginning of 23. If everything goes really well, maybe even the very tail end of 22.
Okay.
So I would say, 6+ months, somewhere in there.
Thank you.
Supervisor Wilson.
Thanks, and great to see you here, Jeff. Just constant reminder that Manila needs to hear from you guys whenever there's a move. They get very, very nervous about traffic through the community, and so I'm just just a reminder, whenever you can, reach out to the community services district in that community to let them know what's going on every time you guys make a move, because I'll hear about it and then you got to hear about it. So.
Yeah, and I remember that last exercise we went to, and I believe I had emailed you to tell you, but I had gone to their board meeting and gave them all the information about that. And actually, during that meeting, I also discussed this project because that was another concern they had was there going to be any, closures, as related to the Indianola project that would route traffic over 5, and we are not going to have any full closures of one. We have to maintain at least one traffic at all times. So, but that's a great reminder. Thanks for that. And it's always good to go back as things get closer. So I'll make a note to be sure maybe to interface with them as we get closer to getting to construction.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions or comments for Jeff? Seeing none. I will move on to our next item, which is public participation, public comment on non-agenda items. And this is reserved for non-agenda items, and public comment limited to 3 minutes. And I believe we have somebody.
You can ask your question or make your comment.
My name is Latanya Jacob. Are you ready for my comments from the public?
Yes, please.
My comment is it's about employment for people who are going to be catching the bus, and how does that work as far as the bus company coming to a cost of what's included in the $50 universal bus pass throughout all of Humboldt County, including Willow. How does that affect the employers? And yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're not going to answer. You just
okay. That's one comment. And the next comment is, what about the hours of operation for the bus? Throughout the Humboldt County. Is there a way that we can make sure that the residents, if they have an issue with catching the bus, that they'll be able to get a customer service representative on the phone during non-traditional hours when the buses are running, like after 5? That's an issue. And on the weekend and a holiday, that's a concern. And also in Fortuna, the bus doesn't always, it doesn't always go the same place. I know how does that affect how do the employers in Fortuna, what do they have to say about how the bus affects their business? I mean, are they bringing in people that they want to bring in, or no? Are they not getting enough business? And what if their business is being hurt by the bus coming there? I mean, because they would have to choose whether or not a bus stop will be on their property or near their property. So, does having the bus interfere with their cleanliness of their property, whether it be their house, their homes, or their business? So, what do the people have to say about? I'm sorry, the employers have to say about people who come here and looking for work that's not born in Humboldt County? Do you have statistics of those that apply for jobs within Humboldt County, and why, just where they fell short as to why you didn't hire them? Those are my questions. And housing goes as well. As far as housing, how many of those people that come here, let's say from East Coast, like New York State, that don't pay their rent on time, don't pay their rent, that are conserved? How many of those people are conserved versus how many of those people are not conserved? And how long do they stay in the area? And
Speaker, we're at time. We're at 3 minutes.
Hi, guys. Thanks. Good talking to you.
And thank you for your comments. All right, thank you for that. I killed my alarm. And at this time, we will move to the consent calendar. Item 1 is Assembly Bill 361 findings to allow for remote meetings. And the second item is the approval of the meeting record. And has everybody had an opportunity to look at the meeting record of our meeting of January 20th?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second. Adeline Jones, Mayor of Blue Lake.
I would request that we pull item number A for further discussion.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve the meeting record. Can we get a vote roll call?
Supervisor Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Seaman,
Yes.
Councilmember Avis,
Aye.
Mayor Atkins Salazar,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Chair Johnson,
Yes.
Pack Member Arroyo,
Yes.
Pack Member Alstrand.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And we had a request to remove item A, the Assembly Bill 361 findings.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. We down here in Rio Dell are going back to hybrid meetings beginning on first meeting in March. And I understand that some of the other organizations are doing the same thing or about to do the same thing. And I'd just like to bring it up for discussion. And to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of Zoom, but I certainly would like to hear from the other cities in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. We've had off, I don't know, we ever think everybody's talked about it in their own organization. I'm sure that it's something that our executive director may have a comment on.
Yeah, actually, I was planning to put it on next month's agenda and actually agendize it and discuss it a little bit in the executive director report tonight, so we can do it early. I do want to make one comment that regardless what we choose to do moving forward, we do need to make this finding for tonight's meeting. So this is actually saying that we're going to meet today and that we still have that. So we still want to make this motion. But moving forward, my understanding is that in the past that we always met in the city of Eureka's chambers for board meetings. I've actually never been to an in-person board meeting at HCOG since I've started working here. But I do think that Susan, you can probably speak to this better than, or Mayor Seaman, you can speak to it better than I can in terms of the facilities and, the ability to have hybrid meetings there and how it's going. But that would be our venue. And, we are prepared to do that at any time the board gives us direction to do so.
So we are set up for hybrid meetings for people to view or for council if we can't all be there at the same time. I don't know if you, Councilmember Arroyo, have actually served off on Zoom before, but I know the ones who do appreciate the ability to come in, but don't like it nearly as much as being in person when it's hybrid. It's just difficult when it's hybrid and everybody's there except for like one person's off on their own. But I don't know. What do you think?
It's been fine. I mean, it's good for those occasions when people can't come. I think that it's helpful to express an intent to be there in person if possible. But that's more of a wish than a necessity if we have hybrid meetings. But it certainly seems like there are some logistical aspects of using the hybrid system and making sure that the recording works well and So I think it might be helpful to liaise with our staff a little bit just to make sure that there's clarity about how to do that. Because I don't always really understand how our city clerk brings up certain things on the screen, or like what triggers the screen to be shown versus like the video feed to be shown. So there's a few things there to figure out.
Yeah, I will say we did look into this, and we connected with the city clerk in Eureka the last time we thought there was a chance we would be returning. And I think what we would end up needing to do is essentially pay to have city staff present to help run the equipment is what we came up with. So that would be a little bit of a cost. We can accommodate that, and but we would need someone there from the city.
Okay. Any other discussion for this item? As it's been stated, this, regardless of what we do going forward, this needs to be done for today, for this meeting.
And I would say, I don't think we need a vote on having, it doesn't need to be that formal, but I would take consensus so we know how to agendize the next meeting, because that's when we'll really announce whether we're in person or not. So, if there is a consensus, then we'll just plan for that as we make next month's agenda.
Okay.
Don't we still need a vote on the
Yes.
right now, though? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that on the consent calendar?
It was.
Well,
Yeah, so I move to approve the consent calendar.
Well, the consent calendar itself was approved. This item was pulled for discussion.
Separate, okay. Well, then I'll make a motion for this.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We get a roll call.
Supervisor Wilson,
Yeah.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Seaman,
Yes.
Councilmember Avis,
Yes.
Mayor Atkins Salazar,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Chair Johnson,
Yes.
Pack Member Arroyo,
Yes.
Pack Member Alstrand.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. And now we will move to PAC action items. And the first is a presentation and discussion with former HCOG board member Susan Ornelis regarding road charge program technical advisory committee seat opening.
If I can just give a quick introduction. This seat is one that CalSTA has asked us to give a nomination for, that Susan has resigned from. And the next meeting, I don't think we'll have in time to, there wouldn't be time to appoint our recommendation before the next meeting, which is on February 25th at 12:30. But just a heads up to anyone who may be willing to volunteer for this, that is the next meeting, and you could, it's open to at least watch the meeting, even if if the appointment is not official. So with that, I'd let Susan explain more about the committee.
Okay, I started my video. I don't know if I'm on there or not, but okay. So it's a California Road Charge Committee. I've been on it, I believe it was since 2017, maybe the end of 2016. The point of it is to look at the technical and social kind of issues behind the changeover from gasoline tax funding transportation to some kind of a mileage use fee because that would include electric vehicles. And you probably are all aware at this point, we charge electric vehicles a certain amount per year or something like that to help chip in. But this is looking forward. So it's not proposing any changes right now, but it's had a couple of pilot programs and excuse me. And so they're actually getting to the point where they really are focusing down on work groups. This is a TAC kind of committee. So it's just advisory. So anyway, I have been the representative of the rural point of view. That's when Marcella was in. They were looking for someone like that. I think someone in Crescent City had it. They lost their position on the city council, and so then I went in. And I've just been kind of practical, I'd say, and people have told me that they've appreciated that point of view. But they are actually looking for some real applied technical stuff, security, privacy. They're looking for people with some concepts or thoughts about marketing, how to really reach out to the California public and let them understand this concept of gas taxes now support transportation, and we are moving, say in 10 years, whatever, away from that, and we're looking to put something in that keeps transportation funding equivalent to what it is. And people worry that it's going to be added on to, and there's discussions about that. There was a few other committees. I was looking them up this morning. I couldn't quite find what, but there's definitely applied technical, which is things like how will we count the road miles? And while people all walk around with their phone and they're being tracked, people hate the idea of government tracking them. So there's been a lot of different, part of the pilot programs has been trial of different methods, putting a mileage counter in a car. Some people don't mind at all. Some people want to take a photo of their mileage and send it in once a year, sort of like they do in certain insurances require that. So anyway, it's all still up for discussion. It's an interesting group of people. I think it's been fun to serve on this committee. You're really working with the California Transportation Commission and Caltrans, and a bunch of different researchers around California. The trucking industry is represented. It's really interesting. And so I'm just ready to retire. And this is the one thing I kept doing. And so I've done it for a couple of years beyond my retiring from city work and from Blue Lake and stuff. And so now I'm just ready to pass this on. So if anybody has any other questions, I have a little statement here of what is the guiding principles, which is the Road Charge Technical Advisory Committee is to guide the development and evaluation of a pilot program to access the potential for a mileage-based funding program. So testing out the revenue systems, testing out public comments, issues, things like that.
From a nuts and bolts perspective, how often are the meetings? How often do they last? Are they currently Zoom?
They are, okay, so I'll answer that. The meetings, I believe it's 3 or 4 a year. They have been Zoom since COVID. Previous to that, we met around in different parts of California, Sacramento, San Diego, Riverside, so we would get together and we talked about maybe that April meeting that's coming up, actually getting together face to face again. They're very interesting meetings. They're educational. I would like to point out that at this point in time, the meetings and the workings between people have gotten fairly congenial. I don't think they're looking for someone to come in and challenge the whole concept, because the concept's been discussed and it's, the state legislatures passed this and they just extended this tech advisory committee to 2027. But this is also happening nationwide. People are looking at road charge, mileage fee, charge. Oregon and Washington has some pilot programs. There's the whole, issue of working it out between states. How do you make sure it's all, So it's a little bit beyond my technical abilities. That's, I don't really have experience in this. I kind of brought a little bit more towards some of the sort of the public comments, the marketing, and helping people just understand that not everybody in rural counties is driving a truck that gets 10 miles a gallon. So that was part of it. But anyway, I'm hoping we have some representation up here just to keep in touch with this. So that's why I thought I'd bring it forward to you guys.
So Adeline here. So it sounds like you don't have to be an elected official to be representing our district?
I think you do have to be an elected official. They allowed me to hang on because that someone else in the committee had hung on after they had been a CTC commissioner.
Oh.
And I think in some ways they kind of just want the peace of not turning it over all the time, you know? But you're supposed to be an elected official. So I think if you go to the, like when I got on, I was an elected official.
Right. I remember when you used to report to us about your meetings. I remember that years ago. But I thought when you stepped down from the council that you were no longer our representative. So they did make that allowance.
Yeah, they were flexible. I said I'd be willing to, and they said, that sounds great. You know, and I think it's just like I said, the practicality of not having to change people over, you know? So yeah. Anyway, like I said, it's kind of fun if you do get to go places, they pay for your expenses to travel there. So it's, you know, if you find that fun still in public service. But anyway, that's about all I have to say about it.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Susan?
I just have a question about is it supposed to be the COG that comes up with the nominee for that, and if it is, can we? I guess you're saying right now there's a meeting that, or I guess what I heard was there was a meeting that's coming up that's too fast. We, you know, for us to come back and do this, if for at least one meeting, but. I mean, could we bring back nominees from like our agencies does it have to be someone on the COG? Is this kind of what I'm asking?
You know, I don't know the exact rules laid out, but I think it's a little flexible. And I'd say anybody who has particular interest or skill in keeping data secure, you know, they're really trying to figure out ways to do this and not have big data. You know, so things like that, or particular skills in marketing, or particular skills in communicating pilot programs or ideas to help that go smoother. So that's, I think if we came up with someone, I think they probably are supposed to be an elected person, but you know, not someone who works at the city or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, that's there, and there are people that are already there that are privacy specialists, security specialists. So there's people that are doing all these things. So you don't have to be able to do all of them.
Okay. I think I see another hand. The public.
Are you ready for the public?
We can open it up to public comment.
Hi, again, this is Latanya Jacob. I just have a question for Mrs. Ornelis. Is that it? How you say her last name?
Yes.
I would like to know, is it possible to get a copy of the job description for her position? The Caltrans Commission position.
I didn't understand the question.
Job description for what you do.
Well, I kind of just gave it to you.
Written job description, please.
This is a volunteer position, you know.
Written.
Anyway, I think I just gave you the job description. I gave you the road charge technical advisory committee and what its intent is.
I do not believe that Mrs. Ornelis has the written job description. You could request that through the California Department of Transportation. I don't think anybody here has it. And
I'm not sure there is one, you know, but maybe in some of the legal descriptions, there might be some sort of description of who's supposed to serve on this.
Yeah.
But again, I know that one of the roles is someone who understands kind of the rural point of view. Like one of the discussions, I'll give you an example of why the rural point of view matters, is talk about potentially, let's say it's 5 cents a mile or something. What if people who, by the nature of where they work, they drive 5 times more than other people? Should there be, different fees for different places? Sort of like congestion funding. And so these are thoughts. Some people have brought up equity, and some people, so we talked about maybe there's different tiers. If you make under $40,000 a year, you pay a certain amount per mile. If you make, between that and 125, you pay another amount, or something along these lines. These are all possible ideas to make this maybe roll out smoother, possibly. So, and that's why just having some practical knowledge can help guide this.
Okay.
Chair Johnson, we have one more public speaker waiting. I'm going to, if I may allow her to talk. It looks like it's
Yes.
Leslie Sanders.
Yes.
Let's see. Here she comes. Leslie, you're in the meeting and you're free to speak.
I apologize, Beth. I must have raised my hand without realizing it. I'm actually on my cell phone, so it's different for me.
No problem. Didn't want to miss you.
All right. Well, any other members of the board have one of the questions from Supervisor Wilson was regarding waiting. When is the next meeting? In April 25th? Is that what I heard?
Yes. So actually the next meeting, as Beth said, was February 25th. It's actually at 9:30 in the morning, and that's coming up soon. It's too soon. The following one is April 22nd, and that's 9 in the morning also. And whether that's live or Zoom, I'm not sure. It's been Zoom for the last 2 years, but like I said, the last meeting we had last October, we discussed the potential of live meetings again.
Because I was just looking to see how it would fit in to get someone so we don't lose 2 meetings in a row.
Right. Well, you could always, the woman Hannah, who I think she works with the CTC or Caltrans, can't remember exactly. She does a good job. She's like the secretary to it, or so she keeps everyone fairly well informed. You could get the minutes, probably.
Okay.
Just encouraged it. And maybe we could reach out to Del Norte also, just to kind of keep this North Coast region, because, many of you who have been in the politics, you go down to Sacramento, they kind of think California ends and then there's some trees and then it's Oregon, And so it's just nice to kind of keep them aware of our region and our thoughts and what people are interested in,
And it's going to become very important also because once the mandate hits, the vehicles start increasing. They're looking closely at some of them. I mean, they're anywhere from 300 to 2,100 pounds heavier than a comparable internal combustion engine vehicle with the batteries, and 4 motors, and all the accoutrements in there. So they have a tendency to possibly wear on the roadways more than existing vehicles. The privacy issue I know is hanging out there. I mean, there's a lot of things that
there's a lot to it, and if it rolls out well, it could be beautiful. If it rolls out poorly, it could be horrible. How the public responds to this. So I think it is an important position to think this through well.
Mm-hmm.
And the group, like I said, is working well together. So anyway.
Do we have any more thoughts from the board? Not a lot of, yes.
Well, I mean,
right.
It definitely sounds interesting. I don't know if the rest of you, it just seems a little out of my league. I mean, I can bring I have a rural perspective and can certainly consider those things. It just, I did go on the website and kind of check things out. And so I guess that's my main concern is, being able to offer real value to the conversation.
And Supervisor Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, it's, up my nerd alley, but, added, it was like, I'm traveling a lot these days. And so I just can't imagine jumping into another one in that way. But I would say that, Councilmember Atkins Salazar, I will say that I understand you're not feeling necessarily technical, but enough necessarily, but I would say from my experience in working with you on a host of land use issues and other things, I'm going to say you have the chops if you're willing to do it. So that's just my 2 cents.
Well, thank you for that. I don't know if that's a compliment or you're throwing me under the bus, but well, I mean, I guess, I'm interested. So I'll just say that if there are no better candidates that rise to the top, we can use me as a default. But if there's somebody better that comes up, I'm not going to have my feelings hurt.
Well, I would just encourage you, Stacy, because I could agree with Mike's point of view. I think just having a reasonable is really, it's actually, you get to meet some really interesting researchers and other people doing things around the state, and you'll find you will have something to offer, I think.
I've seen you've had to step into some tricky situations and you've navigated them well. And I think you're a practical approach to things and would be an asset for this particular task.
Well, at least now you're all aware of this program, because maybe you'd heard about it in the past, but it's still operating. They're looking to do another pilot program with Caltrans vehicles, getting a little bit of pushback from Caltrans, but that's kind of the next step that needs to happen, and see how that works.
I nominate Councilmember Stacy Atkins Salazar for this position.
I'll second the motion.
I did want to note, can I bring up discussion now?
Yes.
It seemed like Councilmember Johnson, like you were also potentially interested, and I don't know if that was from your background in transportation, or I didn't want to not recognize that.
No.
Sorry, the other one.
The other
Johnson.
Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I was on the board when Susan stepped up and said, "Yeah, I'd like to do this." And 6 years is a long time to be on a committee bouncing around the state or doing Zoom or whatever it was. And well done, Susan. Thank you very much. My second point is that my term as a council member is going to end in December, and there is zero probability of me running again. So I'm going to step down and I'm going to go into retirement just like Susan did. Go to the green pasture. Thank you, though.
Okay, and sorry, I realized we have two Councilmember Johnsons who both have a history of working in transportation. So, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure you weren't shut out of the opportunity. But I stand with my second there.
Good. Well, we have a motion and a second for Mayor Atkins Salazar. Can we get a vote?
Hold on, I'd like to speak to my motion just for 1 second. I want to just say that it is a compliment when I say you have the chops to do this, because what I really mean is you have the intellectual curiosity and the capacity to, and from what I've seen, really handle some very technical issues. And even if it's new, that's actually, I have to tell you, it's almost better, because it's not going to be, you're not going to be biased by a bunch of other stuff. So I just think that you're ready. I mean, I know this is going to be great. I'm really appreciative that we have someone that will do this at this level. I really appreciate it.
Well, and just to be clear, I knew it was a compliment. I was just giving you a hard time. but thanks for clarifying that.
Okay. And I'm glad that you accept the nomination. We'll get to the vote. And I really do think your practical approach and your way of working with people will be an asset and represent our region well. So thank you for stepping up. And can we get a vote for this position?
Supervisor Wilson,
Yes.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Seaman,
Enthusiastic, yes.
Councilmember Avis,
Aye.
Mayor Atkins Salazar,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Chair Johnson,
Yes.
Pack Member Arroyo,
Yes.
Pack Member Allstrand.
Yes.
Right. Well, thank you very much. And thank you, Mayor Atkins Salazar, for filling this position. And thank you all for the discussion and hashing it out. And it will be a good thing in the long run. Moving on.
Susan, I'll be in touch with Susan to get onboarded. So thank you.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad you're picking it up. It'll be good move forward.
And for the record, if I can just note, unrelated, PAC member Allstrand had to leave, so that was her last vote of the evening.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll move on to item 7B, the fiscal year 2022-23 TDA Ltf fund allocations. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be giving the staff report this evening. So this item is the annual local transportation fund apportionment. This funding is one of the main sources of funding for our transit operators in our region, and it's also one of the primary sources of funding for the HCOG budget. HCOG has adopted the Transportation Development Act rules, and with those HCOG rules, it specifies the priorities for the uses of this money and within the local transportation fund. So each jurisdiction is going to receive their apportionment. They'll be notified, and then they submit claims to HCOG, and we make sure that those claims are in keeping with the priorities listed in the adopted rules. So after, there's kind of these off the top uses, which is payment to the auditor, which is required by the legislation. There's also HCOG admin and planning, and then the 2% bike and ped set aside that goes specifically for bike and ped projects, which we're currently doing the call for projects for those. And then after that, the top priority is transit needs. So again, when the jurisdictions receive this money, they will first fulfill on their transit needs. And then once they have fulfilled on all of their transit needs, they can use any remaining portion of the money for local streets and roads or bike and ped projects. And in jurisdictions where they have no transit needs that are reasonable to meet, the entire apportionment goes towards the streets and roads or the local projects. And we have one jurisdiction in that category, and that's Ferndale. Their entire apportionment will go to their local projects. This year, the Ltf estimate is actually $1.5 million more than the prior year. So we can talk about this also coming up in the overall work program, but given this large difference, HCOG is requesting $150,000 to be put towards our CalPERS unfunded accrued liability. And so that is in addition to the $450 that we've asked for in years past, which is kind of the typical amount that we ask for out of this fund. So even with that extra $150 going towards our accrued liability, unfunded liability, would have jurisdictions are going to receive about a 25% increase from what they received in the prior year. It varies a little because the populations change a little bit, but generally like a 21 to 27% increase. So with that, I'll take any questions if the apportionments are included in the resolution in the staff report.
So I guess I was confused when I was reading the packet today. There's two sets of numbers. There's numbers on page 2 that are different from the numbers on the last page. Like Blue Lake is apportioned 52,000 and then, oh, okay. All right, never mind. My mistake. All right. It's the same.
I'm so relieved.
I understand. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I was looking at a different city. Okay, good. I'm very excited about getting this money. Blue Lake has some projects that we're really working on. Our trail is doing really great, but it could use a little boost. So this looks good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And does anybody, board members, have any comments, questions on this item?
Yes, Chair Johnson. This is Gordon Johnson down in Rio Dale. I guess probably a question for Beth. And the apportionment is based on the Department of Finance population projections rather than census. Could you explain that? Yes.
I'm not entirely sure the difference, other than I think that this Department of Finance population projection is updated annually because the numbers are slightly different than last year. And if we were going by the actual census, we wouldn't see that annual change. So I can't really speak to where the Department of Finance is getting their numbers. I could certainly look into that and bring it back, but that's the difference from relying on the census, is that it's not a 10-year interval.
Thank you.
And thank you for that. Mayor Seaman.
I'm sure this is fine, but I know a lot of places funding sources don't allow for PERS. So it's all cool that you can use this funding for that.
Yeah, it's one of our more flexible funding sources in terms of coming to HCOG for our administrative duties, which can include our liability. So that's why when we saw sort of this windfall here, I mean, I shouldn't call it windfall. There's always a lot we can do with the money, but having a source that could be put towards it, where we're still going to see an increase for the jurisdictions, it seemed like a good place to be able to pull that money from.
Okay. Any other board members or PAC members, I should say, have a question or comment on this item? I know that this accrued liability is something that all jurisdictions are struggling with, and I can certainly empathize here. We'll open this up for public comment. And it looks like we have one person on board for a public comment on this item.
You can speak on this item now, Latanya.
Hi, my name is Latanya Jacob again. I just have a question in reference to 7B. Some of the things you're mentioning of doing, does that include modifying the buses to have a bigger sign on the back that says caution? Do not follow too closely and be prepared to stop at a moment's notice. Meaning they will be following the traffic and looking at the lights on the bus, and if it indicates they're getting ready to stop, you stop. Got me.
That would be up to the bus operators when they get the money. But thank you for that comment. Any other public comment?
I don't see any other public comment.
Okay, we will close public comment on this item. And
Mayor Johnson, I move that the PAC recommend that the HCOG board adopt Resolution 22-06 approving the fiscal year 2022-2023 local transportation fund apportionment.
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call?
Supervisor Wilson,
Yeah.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Seaman,
Yes.
Councilmember Avis,
Yes.
Mayor Atkins Salazar,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Chair Johnson,
Yes.
PAC member Arroyo,
Yes.
PAC
All right, thank you. And moving down to item C, the fiscal year 22-23 overall work program and budget. Again, I have Executive Director Burke.
Thanks. Yeah, this is, we're already to the next budget year. Yeah, so this item is HCOG's overall work program and budget for fiscal year 2022-2023. There, most of this stays the same in our work elements year to year, but there have been some changes this year to focus on better matching up with the priorities in our RTP, which was just adopted. So we moved some tasks around that are specified in the staff report, but the new work elements involve active transportation and safety as one work element that's new that wasn't there before. Equity and relationship building is another work element, and the final new element is vibrant neighborhoods and land use transportation connections. So we want to call those out and make sure we have, staff time devoted to that and budget devoted to that, and that really lines up well with the priorities in the regional transportation plan. So on the budget side, the overall budget is $114,000, about $114,000 more than the current year that we're in. We have some overall cost savings in staff salaries by not replacing the executive assistant. Some of that gets offset. We do have a fairly high cost of living wages increases. So it's nice that we're down a position and that still comes out being a savings in salaries overall. And then we've also asked for that $150,000 to put towards the unfunded accrued liability. So that increases the overall budget. There's some smaller changes in the budget that we have more coming out of the SAFE program, which is its own funding source. It doesn't tap into anything. It can't be used for anything other than the SAFE program. But you'll remember we adopted the strategic plan and we're looking to implement that. So we actually have some construction planned for that program. So we have more budget there than we did in this year's budget. So those are kind of the big areas that have changed. Once your board looks at this and approves this draft, the next step is to send this to Caltrans. Then they will give us comments back. We will work on those comments and incorporate those changes. And then this OWP will come back to your board one more time for adoption. So right now it's just approval of the draft. So I'll leave it there and take any questions.
Does anybody have a question or comment for Executive Director Burke? Yes, Mayor Jones.
Yeah, hi. A lot of work here. Thank you for that. On page 9, there's the consultation with tribal governments. And I know when I was on HCOG years ago, this was something that came forward. And I see that there is an opening on the TAC for a tribal government representative. Do we currently have a representative from our tribal governments on our TAC?
Yeah, we have several tribal representatives on our TAC. We are missing, notably we're missing WIAT, and I've offered that since I've been here. I have reached out and made them aware. I know that offer's been made several times in the past as well, and so far they have not expressed interest in joining, but that is an open invitation. And the other that we are missing is Big Lagoon Rancheria, I believe. But other than that, we have Blue Lake Rancheria, Hoopa, Karuk, Eureka, Sherry Heights, Bear River Band, Rotorville Rancheria. I hope I'm not forgetting anyone, but yeah, we have good representation, and I will say active. It's been, especially I think having the Zoom option for the TAC has really increased the participation. If you think about folks coming from Hoopa or as far out, for our Karuk representative coming all the way from Orleans, that's a heck of a drive for me for a TAC meeting. So it actually has increased our participation having the meetings be virtual. But yeah, we do have good participation.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? And we will open up for public comment. Mayor Seaman first.
It's not a mayor. I just really wanted to say I really like the 3 work elements that you added. I thought they're very timely and representative of the things that we've been facing the last year. And so good job on that.
Okay. Seeing no other board PAC members, we'll open up the public comment. The speaker now.
Hi, my name is Latanya Jacob. I'm listening to what's reported. I need to make sure I got the correct understanding of what you guys mean by when you say equity. Well, we know that is a financial term, but what exactly do you guys mean when you say equity? I know you probably discussed it, but I just want to make sure something that says specifically, we mean equity to be, And also, will the transit bus ever stop running in this area? And that's a question. When will the bus provide extended service?
We're talking about the budget.
Right, the budget. So, because if we ever, I'm just trying to make sure that when people, when it's late and the bus just is not on time and you are not really familiar with where you are, we want to make sure that they don't have to run the risk of ever the bus just stop running just because.
This budget we're discussing is the operation of the Humboldt County Association of Governments. The Humboldt County Association of Governments is not a transit provider. So we appreciate your comments and questions, and you can see if they'll be addressed. Thank you. Any other PAC members or board members? Mayor Jones, I thought you had your hand up. Okay. If not, we will entertain a motion.
I'll recommend, the PAC recommends that the HCOG board approve the draft of the fiscal year 2022-23 OWP and budget and direct staff to forward to Caltrans for their review and comments.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can get a roll call.
Supervisor Wilson.
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Seaman.
Yes.
Councilmember Avis.
Yes.
Mayor Atkins Salazar.
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember West.
Yes.
Chair Johnson.
Yes.
PAC member Arroyo.
Yes.
Okay. That takes care of our PAC action items. At this time, by motion, we will reconvene as the HCOG board and approve the PAC recommendation. Motion to reconvene as the HCOG board and approve the PAC recommendation.
So moved by Gordon Johnson.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Supervisor Wilson.
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Seaman.
Yes.
Councilmember Avis.
Yes.
Mayor Atkins Salazar.
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember West.
Yes.
Chair Johnson.
Yes. Thank you. At this time, we will get HCOG staff and PAC member reports. First one being Executive Director Burke's report.
Thank you. Not actually too much to report this evening. We are still tracking the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, also known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. We participated in a roundtable that Congressman Huffman sponsored, I guess it was a couple weeks ago. Chair Johnson was there, and myself, Greg Pratt from HTA was there, and Tom Matson. And we got to have our opportunity along with others members in the North region to highlight specific projects that were important to us. And so we continue to track kind of how that's going to trickle down. I sit on a working group at the state level to kind of, just make sure we understand how Caltrans they're going to ultimately be responsible for administering most of the money and just how it will flow. And I think there's still a lot of questions about that. So I'll keep everyone posted and we'll keep in touch with the TAC on this. But we're kind of still in just tracking mode and trying to figure out how these programs are actually going to roll out. And then the other thing I'll just mention that will be new, hopefully on the agenda for next month. And it sounds like I'll take direction that we'll aim for a hybrid meeting in council chambers next month at the city of Eureka, is that we will have our land acknowledgement. We'd like to run that land acknowledgement by our partners at the North Coast Tribal Transportation Commission to, make sure we're doing it right. So that will hopefully be on the agenda for, that we can start with our land acknowledgement next month. And I will also just say that as I mentioned, PAC member Allstrand had to leave early, so we don't have a Caltrans report this evening. Next month they will come prepared. I think we're ready for an update on last chance grade, and you should have received as a follow-up to your packet. I think it went out Monday, but their shop book. That's that long list of projects, all the projects they're working on in Humboldt County. And so again, if you see anything in that book that you would like to hear more about, please reach out to me so we can get the correct people from Caltrans here to talk about those projects that are important to hear about. And then the last kind of Caltrans related update I will give is the Caltrans Director, Cogs has been nominated by Governor Newsom to become the CalSTA Secretary. So it is pending, confirmation, but we do expect to see some changes. And so I know I've really enjoyed his leadership and just a really visionary guy. And so it'll be interesting to see what he does with a little bit even more elevated status and see who comes along at Caltrans following. So that's all I've got for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have a question or comment for our Executive Director? And there being no Caltrans report, I don't know if PAC member Arroyo has anything to bring to the table regarding transit HTA.
Not at this time, thank you.
All right, well, thank you. There being no further business, no further comments, one last chance. And seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you for all your participation, and thank you, Mayor Atkins Salazar, for stepping up for the Road Charge Committee.
And welcome, Supervisor Wilson. Yes.
Welcome, Supervisor Wilson.
I don't know about this being first in line for voting. I don't. That was a shock.
Well, I'll shuffle up the order next time.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you all. We'll see you next month.
Thank you, everybody.